Yeah, the thing is a lot of the software that actually end up starting last year, some are fairly functional, some are not. Okay, we are good. I see your face, everyone. So let me just quickly do a quick. There's a okay. The good thing about this is an interview template, but I don't think Lily can see it. But we can. Okay, yeah, we are on. Where is that? Sorry, okay. Ready in 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome everybody. This is Daniel, and with Mix Up Asia, I have I would say counterpart, Miss Lily. Hi, Lily.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, you can you so Lily is from the
Introduce myself.
Lily's from a few things like YOLO Pacers, uh, female female
Founders.
founders group in Southeast Asia. Is it? I
Yes,
can
it's too long. Female founders in Malaysia and Southeast Asia. Yes.
and
Yeah.
and also the home workout group and so on. So Lily is my co-host today and fellow community builder, and we are really happy to actually have Benjamin as our guest today. Hi, Benjamin.
Hi.
And
Hi, Lily.
yeah,
Hello.
so one of the reason we wanted to get Benjamin in is because like Benjamin runs a spot technology company, right? Can you just share a bit on what do you guys do actually? Because I think it's like such an interesting niche, and I didn't know that this kind of time checking thing comes about. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it is very niche. A lot of people don't really know what exactly we do. Every time when I mention my company, the first thing they think about is, hey, you guys are a sports event organizer, is it? Right? So this is where I always clarify to them, we don't really organize sports event, but what we do is the technology that powers the sports event that if you organize are actually all provided by us. So imagine if you are running a running event, a marathon, right? The first thing you need is to get your participant on board to your event. So you need to sign them up. You need to collect payment of their fees. You need them to select their T-shirt size and so on. So we do provide the registration platform mainly for the sports running and cycling events. After that, of course, in a big event, you have tens of thousands of participants. And then just right 2 3 days before the actual race itself, people needs to collect their race beat, their numbers, their T-shirts, and so on. So you need to manage the queue, you need to manage the inventory, you need to manage, manage the flow to ensure that there's no disruption. We provide actually the platform, the technology, to ensure that I call it like a check-in service, right? So to ensure that it's all smooth, and then of course on the race day, everybody will be excited about, hey, how fast I run, what's the position I get, and so on. So we actually do their timing, right? Their race timing, how fast they run, which checkpoint they go through, and so on. We provide the entire works of it until at the end of the day, after your race, you go back home, you can download a certificate with your official time and your photos and so on. Yeah, that's what we do, the technology, the powers behind. So whatever we do, actually people don't see it because people see the race, but people don't see the people that works behind the races. That's what we do.
So I'm actually curious, like, is that what the reason why you call your company like Checkpoint Scoop? In terms of like, is this because of Checkpoint, and how do you end up starting with this? Like, how do you end up doing this niche?
Uh, Actually, it started with a few. I wasn't involved in the early days. Yeah, I was involved just a couple of years back, right? But the company started in 2015. So there was that time there was a group of I call it the founders. Yeah, they are all runners. So they come together, and then being in a running circle, you have friends coming to you and say, "Hey, I want to do events. Since you guys are running, can you help me do events?" That's when the runners say, "Okay, let me do an event. And what do you need for an event? Okay, you need a registration portal." So they go to another fellow runners and say, "Hey, you know coding, right? Can you just write a platform for us that accepts ticketing?" That's how we started, right? And then after that, okay, for the race itself, I need timing equipment. So they invested in the timing equipment. So after doing that one race for one particular company, it's actually a big retail chain. Then they were like, what do we do with the equipment? What do we do with the platform? That's when they started to say, okay, whoever needs to use, you're welcome to try it out, and use it. So all the smaller race organizer, which at that point of time was actually not, they are being underserved, I call it, right? Because everybody goes for those events where you've got thousands and thousands of runners. All those events with like 100 runners, 200 runners, nobody wants to bother them, right? So these are the people who say, hey, I need all these solutions. That's where we started to do, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, of course, the name CheckPointSpot is because every point where you pass as you run is actually a checkpoint itself. So that's how the name came about, CheckPointSpot. Yeah.
So I want to actually go to ask Lily a bit before she asks you the next question in terms of that. Like Lily, you organize running community called YOLO Pacer, and like what do you think? What do you think are the adaptation of technologies in terms of sports events, basically over in Malaysia and I think when I told you about Benjamin's company, but like you were like, oh yeah, I hear that about and like what are your experience so far? Because I actually didn't know there was like smaller running events at all.
Oh, okay.
Every time when I think about it, it's like, oh yeah, Standard Chartered or the Penang Marathon and etc. When Benjamin say like, oh, 100 people running event, I'm like, oh yeah, that I
Yeah,
mean
there's
definitely.
it's actually plenty. Like I mean, when we call it the runners call it the good old days, right? Before the pandemic, we used to have like I think average of 5 running events a week, during the weekends, and they're all like smaller runs. So every week there's definitely some event going on for the running events lah. And in terms of adaptation, well, I mean can see that if we can't have running events and we can't meet up, we can't run together at this moment. So the running industry did come to a halt. Even for running communities like mine, we had to kind of postpone our activities. So yeah, so we had to adapt. We looked to virtual runs, virtual events, and just and run solo. That's kind of like our motto at the moment to run solo with YOLO. That's what we tell our members. So that's how we adapted. We just look to virtual tools, virtual events. We still stay connected. We just like how all communities are trying to adapt. They stay connected with different tools. They use Zoom. They use WhatsApp. So that's how we've adapted to the situation.
I think just to put things in perspective, in the good old days, we are looking at easily 1,500 to 2,000 events a year in Malaysia, right? So
Yeah.
that excludes those small events where people, organizers in schools and so on, right? So it's actually quite a lot, yeah. Yeah.
It's a booming niche industry lah at that
Yes, it
time.
is.
Yeah. So,
So I'm also curious, like what are like before pandemic, since there's so many events, is there enough? Is the demand enough to supply for so many sports event, basically?
Yeah, I think the runners are spoiled for choices. Yeah,
yeah.
that is why at that point of time, I mean, the competition to get runners are also very high, right? And then for
Yes.
us, because we provide all the back end resources, right? The most taxing one will be on the race day itself, where we have to do the timing, right? That by itself, we need to deploy crews, we need to deploy our people, we need to deploy our equipment, and then over one weekend, we have to spread like 4 or 5 sites. So it's actually quite tough because event usually happens only one day, right? Which is Sunday, right? Friday to Saturday, that's where you collect your T-shirt, and Sunday is where you run. So everything is crammed to one particular day. Yeah, you're right to say the number of participants are actually quite tough. For the smaller, lesser known event, they will struggle to get participants. Yeah.
it was quite, I mean, I add on to that, like, it was quite a highly competitive market lah. And usually, like, need for running organizers' perspective, people will actually look out for when the major race organizers, when are the major race dates and avoid those dates because they don't want to go head to head with those
Yeah,
like famous
yeah.
weekends. So yeah, so
But after some time, there is no months where you can avoid because there will be one major events every other month. So yeah, that's where it get tough.
yeah, yes. That's right. So I guess maybe I can also jump in to ask some questions for you, Benjamin, just to like, understand how you've adapted and coped with the whole situation, right? I mean, I've heard briefly, but I want to know more, like, how is, how was your feelings when the whole running industry actually went to a halt? So, especially when I know the first lockdown was announced, how did you guys, adapt to the situation, and what was going through your mind at that moment?
I think, to be honest, we don't really even have the time to think, right? We
Yeah,
didn't even realize when the situation hit us, because back in December 2019, where cases in Wuhan started popping up and so on, right? That time we were still having a good time. We are still having a field day, right? And our field day lasted until January, February, right? We were still very, very busy. And come March, when things started to hit Malaysia, that's when lockdown was announced, almost, I got it, suddenly, right? So almost overnight, the entire industry was locked down. Almost overnight, we go from every weekend where we are so tied up, not enough resources, to actually we don't know what to do, right? So we didn't really even have time to think, right? But what we did was, at that time, we realized that this could probably be something that's going to drag. So the first thing we did was we look at our, of course, financial resources, right? The first thing we do is that, hey, this is going to hit us back. So can we even last through this period or not? So it took us a couple of months to actually streamline our operation. Frankly, we also had to let go good staff because of it's tough, right? The entire industry is in a total standstill until today. That's already 1 year plus, right? You have never heard of any physical running event, so that's how bad it is, right? Even airlines, you still hear, yeah, they can fly cargo, they can fly, a certain group of business people because business still needs to go on. But in this industry, as far as everybody is concerned, it's non-essential at all. I don't need to run, right? So there is nothing going on until now. That's 1 year plus. Yeah,
yeah,
that's how bad it is.
I think I will just add, I think for some runners, I'm not exactly a runner per se, but I
mature
think Lily,
runner.
I'm a mature runner. Yeah. Lily was like, it's because it seems like very essential now. And this lockdown is a bit,
Well,
yeah.
my job is to kind of make sure it seems essential, but I mean that's for another talk for another day, right?
Mm.
But there are a lot of benefits for running, even for a regular person, who's not used to running. Actually, like the Strava app, right? That we use, this for those who are listening, is this running app that's quite popular. I noticed that a lot of my normal friends who have never run before, you get a notification if they join. So like every day I will get a few notifications in the past few days. So I think people like don't have other activities to do already, so they start considering running and walking as an option at the
Uh,
moment.
I mean, to be fair, like
Yeah.
I do not know when we'll end up doing it, but there's always plan to do some physical activities with the entrepreneur group. Running was always in plan,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's really in plan for like
Quite
almost
some
almost
time.
a year. Yeah, like almost a year already. I thought we would be able to. I was actually looking at when single digit, then I would try to organize like some kind of a run hike with the entrepreneur community.
Yeah, I
I
see.
think the industry is quite resilient, right? Even though it's double digit and whatever digit it is, right? There are still gaps that allow people to run. I think as long as you follow the SOP, I mean, we all just have to be responsible, because it doesn't mean that when you run, you will get it, right? So it's like anywhere you go, whatever you do, there's always the risk. So as long as we manage that, go according to the SOP, we should be fine, because I feel that it's going to be tough if every day we are going to be locked in our home, not doing any physical exercise, right? The mental torture without the physical, exercise, it's going to be very bad. That's why I noticed the first 6 months was all right. Everybody was, very patiently waiting at home. It's going to be over soon. After a while, I sense that runners actually don't quite bother. That's why every weekend you can see, or not even weekend, weekdays, right? You can see people cycling, people walking, people jogging, right? Because I think people are eager to get back to a certain norm, right? They know the risk. As long as you manage the risk well, I think people cannot, stop running or doing some physical exercise. If not, you go crazy. Yeah.
I just want, before I ask the next question, this is Shasha. It's like Cervantes is the horizontal runner. I have no idea what you mean, Shasha.
Yeah, I mean, this industry, this is new to me. What's horizontal running?
Basically
If you,
sitting lah, right?
I don't know. If Shasha, if you can comment, feel free to just comment.
Horizontal running in our dreams.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think, but I'm gonna ask Benjamin, but Lily, if you can chime in also,
Yeah,
like
sure.
how has this affected your business specifically, in terms of like your technology provider, and also your clients. Like that is something that I'm quite curious, since there are so many independent event sports organizers that run all these smaller events. How has it affected all your clients?
Yeah. So as I was saying just now, I mean, the first thing we did was actually to regroup ourselves internally to make sure that we could stay afloat for a certain period of time. Once that was done, the next step that we did was our team actually regroup and say, okay, let's look at the industry, because we know the industry is tough. The event organizer, most of them are actually small companies. Yeah, family business and so on, and they actually cannot do anything at all. And it's so easy for people to say, hey, pivot lah, yeah, go do something, go and sell food, go and sell things online. It's not so easy to start something where you're not familiar with, right? And at that time, you don't even have the financial resources to take that risk and do something extra without knowing that whether it will work. So what we did was we actually said, okay, let's regroup and let's see how we could help our partners, right? That's where we look into our technology and we started to build, I call it solution and platform, in anticipation that probably virtual events would come in for the sports. But the challenge is, how do you make a sports event which is physical to be virtual? That's where the challenges is. But we came up with certain roadmap and so on, and we put in whatever limited resources we have, and basically build out a platform. And we noticed, yes, actually virtual events are actually starting to come back, right? Prior to this, Malaysians just do not believe in virtual event, virtual running, virtual cycling, right? Because they are spoiled for choices. Every weekend you got 4 or 5 races to join. You wouldn't want to join any virtual event. But right now, it's very high, the awareness. Yeah, I think Lily probably could also vouch for it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have seen virtual events popping up here and there. Definitely, it wasn't as popular pre-pandemic. Yeah, so the pandemic has accelerated the need for virtual events, and personally, I find it's a whole different experience. It's actually quite suitable for beginner runners and maybe those introverted runners, those who Daniel was like, yeah. So because
When you say that, I realize that, yeah, I am, because I'm very introverted myself, so I am an introverted runner, which is
yeah,
true.
yeah, because you go big events, you have to so many people, you have to go with the crowd, so it's very different environment totally. But doesn't mean introverts do not want to have social connection, right? So that's where, like, you get to, like, maybe see online while everybody's running for this cause or something like that. So yeah, so that's where the connection comes in. Oh yeah, it's very interesting, Benjamin, to hear. I do have one question for that. Like, how long did you take to kind of build up to pivot basically the process, right? Because at that time, from the pandemic, the lockdown, how long did you guys manage to come up with a new platform for the virtual event?
Yeah, we already have our event registration platform. So that is
Yeah.
actually an extension. Yeah,
Yeah.
whether you do physical or virtual, you got to register, right? So
Yeah.
the challenge is always, okay, after you have registered, how do you run your race and how do you submit your results and how do you make it like a sense of proper management of the race itself? Because we are actually a serious technology or race technology provider. We don't really do a lot of those fun stuff, right? Where you don't even need to submit. In the early days of virtual run, is as long as you register, whether you submit or don't submit, whether you email in your results or not, you will get the t-shirts, right? So the perception of Malaysian is, oh, virtual run is actually selling t-shirts, right? But we do it very differently because our client, our organizers are all serious race organizers. To convince them to move from a physical run to a virtual run is already a struggle, because to them, hey, I'm a serious race organizer. Why are you asking me to do all this,
Yeah.
crappy event and stuff like that, right? So, that's where we actually educate them by telling them that actually you can make it competitive, right? The only difference between a virtual and a physical event is I am not there to physically verify the event. I mean the timing itself, right? So that is the only thing I cannot vouch for. That's why you cannot take it or it is an Olympic result, because there's no way you can verify this, right? GPS accuracy is also another concern and so on, right? But we make it very close to it. Like recently, we launched what we call a Malaysian Marathon League. So it was a national campaign that we did for the fun of it. And then that's where all the participants actually select the state that they want to represent, and they run and they compete with each other, right? And Sarawak end up winning, being the state champion. Yeah. So to answer your question, it took us about 2 months to set up our leaderboard. I call it for the virtual races submission. We even sync to Strava, the app, the popular app that you just mentioned, to make it easy for runners to actually submit their results. And then with that platform up, our virtual run platform is actually very, very comprehensive. If you are looking at organizing any virtual event, whether as a corporate, because nowadays the trend is also a lot of corporates are using virtual activities to engage people. Yeah, and they find it actually it's much cheaper than if they were to organize a physical run, right? And physical run, there are abundance of risks, right? Permit risk, not enough participant risk. There are tons of risks, right? So a lot of them are pivoting towards here as well. That's where we see there's actually quite a lot of take up. So we have quite a comprehensive platform. At the same time, we also have platforms for organizations like NGO to actually raise fund. So imagine you join a race and you say, I'm going to run for, let's say, cancer. I'm going to run for, Alzheimer, right? I'm going to run for whatever cause, and you get your friend to support and pledge because right now charity organization is also going through very tough time, not just
Yeah.
corporates. Yeah.
I want to talk about that later, but also just take a step back and because Lily, you organize virtual runs also, and just before that, this is from our friend Ken. Too many virtual runs, some crazy and go ultra distant. I
Fellow
think
YOLO is, yeah.
I
Sorry,
think a
sorry.
lot. Yeah. So that's one of our fellow YOLO pacer. I think a lot of people don't really understand what virtual run is. Maybe you want to just brief a bit, and also one of the previous run that you did for the cancer research one, if you want to just explain a bit.
Oh yeah, sure. So when people ask me what's virtual run, I basically say basically it's a online event where you register. So you register your interest for it, and then you download an app or a running app or the chosen app of the event itself, and you sync it to the website, and just go outside and run with your phone. Mostly it's a phone or their smartwatch. Yeah, and then the results will get submitted to the website, and usually there'll be a leaderboard. So that's how you submit your results and compete with everyone, across the nation or the world. So basically, it's really running with your phone or your smartwatch to record your running. In terms of I guess so. That's then the next question people normally ask is like, oh, is that fun? Like, doesn't sound very enticing because it's completely new and sounds like so many gadgets to like download and everything, right? So many apps. So usually I guess that's where the virtual organizer the role comes in, where they try to make it more seamless by giving like, clear instructions, focusing on the user experience, reducing the number of steps, and just helping people who are not so tech savvy to just make sure they get the necessary apps and registration done. Then after that, it's quite smooth flowing. Like with so from my experience with the reverse cancer run, so it's actually run for our lives. It's in conjunction with the Cancer Research Malaysia, and yeah, so we did a very simple concept, which is just run 3 km. They wanted to appeal to really like the everyday person who doesn't usually run. So yeah, so a lot of there were a lot of communications going via emails, WhatsApp, whatever, just to get those people who register with us on board to the technology that we're going to use. And after that, it was quite free flowing. We had people who, I mean, just to say, like we had people from all ages actually joining the run. So, and those who are not so tech savvy, they have usually the younger generation will help them, download the apps and everything. And we even had like a group, this running club called Team Special Me. So they are like a running club with by moms of mothers of intellectually challenged children. So even they, they're not very tech savvy, but because they want their children to be active, so they actually like make the effort to learn how to download all these the apps, and they teach their children like to how to bring the phone out and run itself. So all these children went out and run, all these young adults.
Wow.
So yeah, so I think that really is all about communication, just like what Ben said, right, you have to communicate to your clients, communicate to your end users how to actually do it. Then everyone's going to have a good time. So there's a little bit of like a barrier to overcome, and I feel, yeah, once the effort is put in, it's quite smooth sailing after that. Yeah.
So Ben, like you mentioned on your platform, there is this like hub, like in terms of the NGO is actually using your technology to raise funds and raise awareness. What are some of the case studies that you have seen in recent months that are really successful, and other people can actually take a look in terms of actually adopting virtual run when things are more when you run with how to say run responsibly.
Run responsibly.
Run for
Yeah.
a cause.
Yeah, run for a cause.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So okay, to expand on we call it our fundraising module. We actually introduced that not too long ago, right? Because we keep improving our platform. That was, I think, end of last year. We started finalizing that module and introduce it to the market. So I would say in January, that's when we actually launched. Right. So far, we have 4 events. One of it is the reason one is also related to the cancer research. That one is, I think, with KKM. Yeah. What the most of these NGO, what they do is most of the time they will earn or raise fund through the participation fee. So, but that is actually not enough, right, for most of them, right? Because their overheads are actually quite high. So what we do is, okay, there are certain members who actually are very supportive of the organization. And then we will tell the runners, if you really want to support, right, sometimes you cannot come out all the money yourself. Why don't you run for a cause and then, get your friends to actually chip in, whether it's 50 ringgit, 10 ringgit, it doesn't matter, right? So what we actually do is these people, they will be given we call it your personal link, right? Where you say you're running for cancer, you get a personal link, right? You show it to your friend and say, hey, please donate through this link of mine. At the same time, your friend will be monitoring your progress, how far you run and so on and so forth, right? So they and then when they submit or they contribute towards this link, actually it goes into what we call the fundraising leaderboard as well. So you can actually see, hey, who are the most who has got the most collection and so on and so forth, right? So we make it kind of fun for people to kind of compete, right? Some organizers do give some token, right? Just to add in the fun element, prizes and token, right? And we realized that I think there was about 3 or 4 events that use our platform when we launched, right? Collectively, they have collected more than 100,000. So I think it's okay. Yeah, I mean, for a time like this, when pandemic, where every dollar is, every ringgit is hard to come by, I think 100,000 makes a lot of difference to these people. Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
No, I was gonna say, Lily, do you want to take the next question?
Yeah, sure. So, Benjamin, thank you for sharing. I mean, it's great that, we are trying to use technology to help NGOs and help organizations, right? So, in a way, it's more than just running. It's like a virtual, basically helping companies digitalize and helping them to go out to their end users with running as a platform. So, just wanted to know, like, from another perspective, like, you said that, after you've pivoted, you're sort of open to the, uh, what do you want to share about how, you can work with other businesses on how you can help them, basically survive this pandemic? I mean, because a lot of business owners are probably the audience here today, right? So, how do you think like Checkpoint and maybe the running community can actually work with work with other businesses to help each other survive this?
Yeah, so I suppose a lot of our audience today here, most of us are startup, right? I used to be in a startup. That was in 2015, right? I was in the Coach and Grow program, right? It was a one whole year long program. That particular startup that I started didn't really progress, so it was drop off along the way, right? But I know as a startup, it's tough, right, to get people to try. Let's say you're into apps, get people to try your apps. If you're into certain products, right, your branding and so on, it's not as strong as I call it the traditional players. So, but we most of the time we don't have a lot of resources when it comes to marketing fund, right? So we have to find a so-called an easier alternative to actually reach out, right? So what I can say is for startup, if you're looking at so-called creating activities, because right now with the lockdown, there's not much physical activities you can do, right? So obviously virtual activities is one of the way to move forward, right? And then at the same time, doing a physical virtual activities, I think is timely because people are just mentally drained. The 1 over year of fighting the pandemic and lockdown, people are just mentally drained. They will grab onto any small, I call it any gush of fresh air that they can get. Yeah. So doing a virtual races, we can make it fun, we can make it competitive. There's no many ways of us coming up with an event, and it doesn't really cost you much, right? Because the participant actually pay a fee for it, right? So from that fee, it will actually cover most of our costs and so on, right? That's why a lot of big companies actually does that. I believe they also do work with Yellow Paces, right? Where they actually ask you guys, hey, you organize it for us, right? So in return, Yellow Paces will probably come to technology provider like us and say, okay, I'm going to use your platform and so on, and how do we chime in, right? So this is one way for I call it entrepreneur to actually do this. For example, if you had an app and then you say, okay, I want to do a trial on this app, and then I've got this budget to let people try. So maybe we can actually do a program to say, hey, you got to download your app and you got to complete certain challenges to complete your so-called virtual race, right? So at the same time, they will be able to feedback and give you responses on your app. If you have got products, right, you can always feel free to do sampling. That means when we organize events, you can actually give the product for us to help you do something. To us, is we do all this partly to give back to the community, right? Because everybody is struggling, right? At the same time, I think the entrepreneur, if you really want to capitalize on it, you can, right? We have got quite a big group of community of runners because we've been operating for the past 5-6 years. So we have got, I think, one of the largest running community database, right? So we can actually help get your messages out. Of course, it has to be in line with what we do. We can't be, spamming our community and so on. Yeah. But there are actually a lot of opportunity if you're looking at tapping or getting, words out to me cost effective way, on the business that you're doing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Daniel, you
Yeah.
just came back, right? Yeah, all good?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
good. Sorry, the
Okay.
connection just
Yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden got wonky, and
Oh, no worries.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm actually very curious about is the fact that like there's gonna COVID has definitely affected quite a fair bit in terms of this. So there's actually two areas of my curiosity. One is COVID itself in general, and how would that affect like the sports event industry in general. And number two is basically all the lockdown regulation in particular, and like because like you mentioned earlier, like let's say like cargo planes, they can pivot to cargo and stuff like that, and there are some industries that's so hard to pivot and etc. And it's one of those big challenges that especially with I think like you Benjamin, if I can just share that you haven't got your meaty letter to implement your to actually get back to your office basically. Yeah, so how is the situation like actually for you and your clients?
Yeah, it is tough. Yeah, sometimes we just sit down and wonder, is there really light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because back in 220, we were saying that, hey, 220, 221, second half, probably events will come back. But, looking at how things are now, we are saying, hey, 222, second half, probably event will come back. But the actual thing is, we actually don't know when, right? So, it's in all our mind also is, how long can we sustain this? Yeah, I mean, we are still running at a loss every month, right? We are still having our burn rate, right? Although we have cut down our burn rate, right? But, we are still burning, right? But at the same time, I mean, being an entrepreneur, I think that's where the burden falls onto our shoulder, right? Times get tough, what do you do, right? There's always things you can do, right? There's always things you can do, but of course, whether you can survive and see through it, that's another question, right? So that's why there are some who fail, there are some who made it, right? And when they made it very big. Yeah. So we are trying to find that gap of whatever we can do to survive right now. Although the gap, especially for our industry, is really, really small, right? Like for example, right now, although yes, there are total lockdown, but technically the SOP says you can run between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? So to us, okay, that is a bit of a breathing gap for us, right? So you can do some kind of a virtual activities that probably would allow people to, follow strict SOP and run within that gap. At least you do something better than nothing right now, right? There are also opportunities for us to say, actually, when we do virtual event, why are we even looking at just Malaysia, right? Today there's a full lockdown in Malaysia, right? There is no, lockdown probably in places like Vietnam, right? Vietnam is already having their races. China is already having their races, right? Of course, I can't go in there because there are so much bigger players down there, right? I mean, we are trying. What I'm trying to say is basically, as an entrepreneur, I think yes, things are tough, right? It's either you throw in the towel now, or hey, you find your angle and say, hey, let's survive and fight another day. Let's live to fight another day, right? So we are finding our traction. I mean, we are finding our steps as well, right? It's challenging, right? Because like I say, our industry is not even in the top of the essential list, right? We are actually trying to lobby or garner support from KBS, which is Kementerian Belia and Sukan, right? But as we push, also we feel that if we keep pushing and if they open the industry, and all it takes is one event you do, and then that particular event is a cluster, right? The entire event will be locked down again, right? And then the penalty that comes with it and so on, it's going to kill any organizer, which is already like half dead right now, right? So it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
We are in a dilemma, right? Push or we don't push, right? So instead of focusing on things that to me, which is troubling in your mind, that you can't do anything about it, why don't we look at things that we can do, no matter how small it is, right? Because whatever we do right now, I believe, even when the market comes back, I think it will change the landscape. I think certain things that we do today will stick on and stay in the new event moving forward. So, either you're in it or you're not in it, Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
I
thought.
think there is definitely there's definitely going to be a lot of challenges in terms of that, and the way you say it is either you throw in a towel. That the thing that came to my mind is like, yeah, entrepreneurship is definitely a marathon. I mean, it's corny, but
I
it's
mean, that's our
definitely
business
true.
marathon, right?
Not
Yeah, like
sprint.
yeah, it's definitely a marathon, and
It's a very
so
long marathon.
it's a very long marathon.
Yes.
Uh, so or what
Yeah.
our friend Ken say, ultra marathon.
Yeah, it feels even longer. I've never run an ultra marathon, but sometimes I think it's even more tiring than running an ultra marathon sometimes. Yeah. But yeah,
But
what Benjamin said is really inspiring. Continue, Daniel. Yeah.
oh no, I'm just curious. Like, is there any case studies that you have seen like outside of Malaysia that are doing extremely well? That I think that like that is actually very interesting in terms of either from the organizer side or the technology side.
Who are you asking? Like any one of us? Oh,
Mm.
okay. Well, you mean in the technology side or virtual events?
Yeah, virtual event or tech.
Well, I mean, I do observe a bit of the international market also. So I've seen some like I mean, for virtual runs is my main focus, right? So I do see like international virtual runs like this. I don't know if you guys seen it in your Facebook ads. It's a Conqueror run or something. And I thought it was
Mm.
pretty nifty how they do it, they design it according to tourism. So now a lot of us are like stuck at home, so what we really miss is travel. So that's how they kind of try to create a virtual experience out of it. And to win medals, let's say to run in in Japan or in just maybe on eight wonders of the world and you just get a medal. Yeah, obviously it's not like the real experience, but I think people are just looking for things to do, some experience better than just sit at home and do nothing, right? So I think that's the mindset most people have, and that's why they're actually quite popular. So they are one of the more like I've seen it like globally, and they ship globally as well. So that's probably how they target the international market. Another one I've noticed is Airbnb. So Airbnb, now they have like virtual experiences now. Because I was like just curious, what was Airbnb doing now, and I noticed that they are actually they're selling virtual experiences. So people who you can join like a cooking class, like like a Spanish cooking class, or you can like it's like some virtual tour where they bring you around Paris. So I'm guessing people in Paris are not in lockdown, so they can. I'm not sure how they bring around the cameras, but yeah, you can actually like join in those virtual experiences, and looks like people are joining in. So I think yeah, that's how people are adapting at the moment.
How about you, Benjamin?
Yeah, I think some of the things that we are doing right now will definitely carry through, right? Even when the physical event comes back, right? I am thinking the way I look at the industry, when the physical event comes back, it's not going to be like open where you say you're going to have like 10,000 people running, right? So it's going to be very limited, probably 300 people, right? So this is where I think we will move from the current phase of the industry, which is all fully virtual event, to a hybrid, right? So those lucky ones, probably you can afford to pay a bit of premium, you run the physical event, right? And then for the rest of us who are still scared, that the virus is still around, you probably do the virtual version of it. So to me, it's going to be a complementary hybrid races, which is going to go on, right? And even when people are comfortable, I believe the entire experience has actually opened out our eyes to say, hey, when I do and say, for example, KL Marathon, right, the largest in Malaysia, right, 40,000 people running, right? Do you think they're going to be able to accommodate 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, right? Unless they do it in multiple days. But if you're going to do it in one day, there's no way the data run can handle, right? So you have a limit. So a lot of these organizers will probably be thinking, hey, why don't I do a kind of like a hybrid right now? Right? I've got, let's say, 40,000 slots for you to run, right? The 41,000, please go through my virtual activities. I will try to make the experience as good as, the physical event as I can, right? But that probably give me another 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, people, right? Why not? So I think the mindset or how things have been moving would actually change the landscape in totality in the future. Yeah. So that's where we are quite excited to a certain extent when market reopens, right? Of course, the biggest fear is can we even last until that time, right? So there's always the million dollar question, right? But we're actually quite excited, when how things will turn out because we are in the forefront right now of whatever challenges that we are facing, right? And we believe as things get better, we are more well prepared to actually seek through or so-called reap in the benefit at the point of time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting time basically in terms of whatever we do, and I'm I'm actually quite curious, especially with the leaderboard thing that you have done. I remember there was a period of time when Nike first came out with their there was this their running tracker on the shoe, and there was a Malaysia versus Singapore running challenge, and that went that went crazy. Like it got crazy that even that time I wasn't into running. I was like following it to a certain extent, and I think at the end of the day, there's always like room for innovation or room to actually try new things and so on. I think when Lily did the cancer run, and she was doing the runoff on Zoom, that was also quite cool because there were people just literally holding the phone.
Yeah,
and,
and running.
I
and I
think
was
when
like,
she did the virtual flag off, that was great, right? When I hear her doing that, right? So this is where I also noticed actually it's a new generation of organizers. They are more attuned, right? Probably to technology, right? So mindset, there's not much restriction. So they will come up with many, many different angles, many, many different ideas, which I feel is great. That's where, it is actually changing the industry because the industry is quite traditional. Physical events are actually quite traditional. Right? We are considered one of the more, I call it, progressive party, in the entire chain, right? So even that also we are, I call it, of a older generation, right? So I feel that the landscape is going to change, yeah? Yeah, and this is actually expediting it, the current pandemic. Yeah.
Thank you,
yeah,
Ben. Well, exciting
yeah,
times, though challenging. Yeah.
yeah.
So definitely looking forward to see what innovative things all these industry players are coming up with. I would say every day is a different thing. Like every few months the whole landscape changes. So that's what makes it exciting, I
Yeah,
guess.
but
Yeah,
I mean, we are all still itching for the day where we see all the fellow runners,
Yeah.
right on the track and everybody running. Every
Yeah.
day when I speak to my counterpart in
Exactly.
China, they show me their races, 100,000, 200,000, all sold out and so on. I mean, it's like, wow,
So
it's a
jealous.
heartache, for us.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine.
Yes,
They're
yes.
back to normal now, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. China, Vietnam, because I do follow also. I follow their newsletters, and yeah, I get very jealous when they're like asking us to fly over to to
Yeah,
join their
yeah.
events, but we can't.
I
Yeah.
I think that there's that
Mm.
what you guys are doing are quite interesting because it's really opening up doors for a new opportunity of different types of events, and I like the idea when Benjamin was saying like if that you create this hybrid model where you can actually allow when people can run in there, then someone that is like I don't want to see people, I can just run myself
Yeah,
together.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely there'll be people like
You're
that.
right.
Like it opens up
Especially
the
especially this one
options.
year, right? People are so used to going through I call it the experience of a virtual run, and they find that they actually quite enjoy it, right? Although they do it, in their own space and so on, right? So these people will still be there, right? These people will always be there. Who, if you say, join me on my physical activity where I got to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and start running, right? These are the people who say, no, no, I rather sleep, but I don't mind running at my own pace, right? So you still have this group of capture audience, which I think will stick on after this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually I guess in a way it's already opening up a bit, like to put it bluntly, it's like a bit of a blue ocean because like Lily would know I'm not I won't classify myself as a runner, but she also know that if you look at my Strava, it tells a very different story.
Yeah, he every time tell me I'm not a runner, I'm not a runner, but he's one of the friends, non-runner friends that I have who joins Strava, and then I'm like, hey, then I started stalking him and like liking his walks. He called them walks lah, but then the pace is quite fast, so so then yeah,
It's
I'm happy.
it's walk. It's literally walking.
He just put the
but that
category
is the
walk on
beauty of a
me.
virtual run, right? That
Yeah.
is the beauty of a virtual run. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
do actually many different type of program, right? For the serious runner, of course, we do a more longer distance, right? We even have a program where you actually count steps, right? Currently, we are working with. I'm not sure whether you guys heard of Raswa Buster, right? So Raswa
No.
Buster is a anti-corruption movement,
Oh,
right?
that
So we
one.
actually
Okay.
have a program with them where we said, okay, Malaysia, let's every day when you walk, count your steps, pledge these steps to anti-corruption movement, right? And we hope to garner 100 million steps. When we came out with the concept, we are thinking like, well, 100 million steps, no joke, right? Whether can we even meet it, right? Today I checked, I think we are like maybe less than 100,000 steps away from hitting 100 million. So we should be hitting probably double that amount, right? So as you go about doing your daily life, all you need to do is probably wear your smartwatch or keep your handphone close to you. Even in a sedentary lifestyle, inactive lifestyle, you probably will be chalking up 2,000-3,000 steps a day, right? So you just pledge, put it into the leaderboard, and we kind of make it fun so that people can relate, hey, what is anti-corruption? I'm doing something, I'm putting my heart and soul to it, I'm pledging something, right? And together, collectively, Malaysian, we say 100 millions, we are against corruption, right? So we can make it fun. That's why I'm saying it doesn't have to be serious run. So it can be cycling, it can be running, it can be walking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I cannot see who actually posted this, or someone said
It's
that the
Ken.
sales of Ken, yeah.
Yeah.
Ken, you're promoting some of it actually.
Yeah, he does I think he dabbles a bit helping how he actually helps friends because we're all in the same industry, so he knows people who sell watches and stuff like that, so he's aware lah that it's booming the industry.
It is,
Yeah.
especially watches, right? Because during the pandemic, also we started to sell some merchandise, right? I mean, everybody gets into e-commerce, so we also cannot lose out, had to get into e-commerce, right? So we find that watches are actually selling very well, besides shoes. So yeah,
Mm.
it is.
What will be your outlook in terms of the sports tech market, basically? And there's also a question later, but like before we head to the question, like what do you think in terms of the outlook? Like, do you see any like big mega trends that will move the sports tech outside of the beyond the pandemic? Like whether people will, like, for example, whether people who are like me who don't like are not runners or what, being more involved in this, being more active, and so on.
Yeah, I think for the sports industry, definitely there will be a lot of technological advancement. If you look at it, people are already going into, I mean, it's another extension of a virtual event. Basically, they call it AR, right? You do your AR, say, cycling, right? You have an equipment, you have a TV in front of you, you can actually have a view of, let's say, Cameron Highlands, right? But you're just right in your room and you are cycling in Cameron Highlands, right? So that kind of virtual experience, I think, are changing the way things going to move ahead, right? This is, of course, in anticipation of IoT, right? Internet of Things. There will be more and more gadgets as we find that, we also find there's actually quite a lot of new gadgets coming in and so on. So these are the things that could possibly disrupt the industry. That's why we do dwell into it, right? When I say we are doing timing, the traditional timing of the race that we do are using RFID, right? But we also look into various technology like NFC, right? We are even going into things like AI, right? To help us look into improving the technology or gearing for the future. Of course, a lot of these investment are in a way impacted because of the pandemic, right? So there are a lot of great plans that was in the pipeline right now. We got to defer it because of the situation. Yeah, but definitely things are changing, right? People are pushing for, newer things to be, I mean, the experience of running to be very different right now. People are pushing for that different experience. Yeah.
I think as someone who doesn't join race, it is always very opaque to me. And thanks for really sharing a lot that opened up my eyes in terms of this. There's a question. There's a question. Is there a way to educate the public and ensure runners keep safe the SOP? I think if you guys want to, if any of you want to just take this question quickly.
Really?
Sorry.
Yeah, sure, Jamin. So, this question is raised by Felicia. Hi, Felicia. So, it is an ongoing problem that we have in the running industry. I think, for personally, I feel the one way we can educate the public and runners on complying with SOP is really just start with ourselves first, like by setting a good example, because there's a lot of hate going around, and people are naming and shaming. I don't think it makes a difference, because you take photo, you post online. It's not like the person's going to say like, oh wow, I've been named and shamed and I won't do it again. They'll just end up hiding it, right? They'll still continue doing what they usually do, but they won't post on Facebook anymore. So I feel that we should start with ourselves and set a good example, especially if we those leaders in our communities, running communities, we should spread the message on why we need to do so, why we need to run solo. Sometimes, yes, it's about the optics, and most people think that, oh, I'm responsible for myself, I know how to make sure I'm not going to get infected. But I do feel that it's about leading with by example, and it's about educating our close friends and our internal community, those who are within our control first, to hopefully spread the circle of influence. So so start with our friends and family, friends who um they don't think it really matters, that kind of thing. Just share a bit of education on why you feel that it matters that all of us actually comply with the SOP. I feel that's the more effective way to approach this. So that's my opinion.
I have a question. This is more on like personal well-being during this FMCO. How do you encourage like entrepreneurs? Because we're talking to the entrepreneur community. How do you suggest them to actually be active, like have an active and more healthier lifestyle? Because like my personal opinion in terms of a lot of times like and I'm super guilty of that. If you know me before, like I neglected like a big chunk of my life just focusing on work. What would be your advice, like both of you, maybe Lily, then Benjamin?
Okay, so advice in terms of well-being, I guess. Even from hearing your story, Daniel, that like what made you prioritize well-being in the end, right? It's because if you don't listen to your body, your body will end up forcing you to stop. So it's just not I mean, if you want to talk to a business person, right, it's just not a sustainable strategy to go forward with. If you can neglect it to a certain extent, but yeah, there'll be one point where your body tells you like, no, I can't do it, and that will equal to you being unproductive and you having to take time off to actually repair yourself. So a more sustainable strategy for your business is just to take care of your well-being first, so that you can actually sustain and be a more productive entrepreneur. And I would say all of us go through it, even well-being champions, we all have burnouts, and we're not exactly the fittest at certain points of our lives. So it's really about prioritizing and just keeping in mind that like if we don't prioritize it, it will come back and haunt us. So yeah.
How about yourself, Benjamin?
Yeah, I think on a personal level, during this pandemic, there was one point of time where I actually was very active doing my sports and so on, right? So what I can say is I actually took it upon me, and I actually lost about 10 kg during that period of time, right? I've never lost weight in my entire life. So to me, that was a good start. It actually makes, as an entrepreneur, it actually helps us to be more agile, right? As far as mental and physical situation is you got to do that. Most of the time, as an entrepreneur, we are doing a lot of things on our own, and we feel that we never have the time, right? But what I'm just saying is that if you keep yourself in the house, staring at the computer, doing your webinar and whatever, right? Your mind will be too crowded, right? You'll be too clouded, and there's no way you can break out from you got to break out from your norm. You got to have some fresh air, right? So going out is one thing. Get out from your house, right? Of course, following SOP, right? I got to stress that, right? Even you start small by counting your steps. I think that is a good start, right? Before you even pick out your pace to start running, right? Because as an entrepreneur, your body and your mind really needs to be tip top, especially right now during the pandemic. It is even more demanding, right? So I think I would encourage all the entrepreneurs, go out just to get some fresh air. Whether you run, you cycle. Right now you can't cycle, but whether you run, you walk, it doesn't matter. But you need to go out and get the fresh air. Yeah, I mean maybe that will be a good start. Yeah.
Yeah, those are amazing advice, and I really cannot stress that how important it is, because like I got like Lily will probably know that I really literally got stopped up at my track basically in terms of that, and over the years like very short period of time, I think I roughly lost about 49 kg basically in terms of that.
You should
I,
see his before
Yeah.
photo. I was like, who's that?
But feels good, right? I mean, yeah, it's a sense of
yeah,
achievement, and that actually encourages as an entrepreneur. That gives us energy to drive whatever else we do, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more liberating, and I may not have I may not have like the endurance when I was younger in terms of but I feel like there's a lot of things I'm a lot more focused, and a lot more I can do a lot more energy to do. So yeah, like and I have to just say just thanks to Lily for also
Oh,
just a shout out for the home workout group. Actually, that's actually been really helpful basically.
oh, glad you benefited out of the community. Yeah, he was posting all his workouts and everything, and everyone's encouraging him. Now he's known as the kettlebell guy in the community itself.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to
Kettlebell
feature you,
champion.
Daniel, next on our
No,
channel.
no, it's the other Daniel that is small.
We have another Daniel who's also into kettlebell and he's a personal trainer as well. So
Yeah,
yeah. But I just want to add on to the benefits to entrepreneurs, right? Another thing is it really helps promote your creativity. I don't know if you guys notice, like when you go out for walks, if you just let your mind wander, actually I get a lot of good ideas when I do my, especially hiking, because it's slower pace, right? So it helps you really think through things. So
Mhm.
yeah, I feel that is something that a lot of business owners entrepreneurs can benefit from, because I can understand people feel like, oh my god, this is such wasted time, time that I could have spent in a business, but it can actually be productive that way. And also where you maybe spaces where familiar routes, you can actually listen to audiobooks as well. So that's how you can like maximize your productivity in that sense. Yeah, so just wanted to share that.
yeah. I actually lost track of how many books I end up reading from the previous lockdown to this lockdown, but it's it's like crazy because I end up doing about like 4 days one audiobook maybe, like
Wow.
yeah,
Okay,
like
that's good.
generally about like 4 days one audiobook. So yeah. So any final advice? I think Benjamin, you are definitely super insightful in terms of that. Like any final advice to other fellow entrepreneurs? It could be to them, and also event organizers of these events and stuff like that. What would be your parting words for them?
Yeah, I would say as an entrepreneur, right? For those of us who are still considered an entrepreneur today, if you look back, it's actually more than 12 months that we have survived the onslaught of the pandemic. And I can tell you the scale that we are all going through today, it's really, really different from anyone has actually gone through before, right? So for that matter, if you can survive, or if we have survived until now, I think it's a pat on our back, right? So although the road ahead is unclear, but you have outlast more than 12 months, right? There's only a few more months to go, right? That is like the last lap you're going to cross. For us, people who are in this running industry, it's like you're almost at the finishing line, right? The proudest moment is when you cross the finishing line, right? So please keep going, right? No matter how tough it is, right? Look for that arch, cross that line, and you will make it. Yeah.
It's a very
I
inspirational. Yeah.
yeah, that is so inspirational, and I want to say, what is it? What are those people like pacers? Are those pacers? Yeah, am I getting
Yeah.
a term right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I hope the entrepreneur community can be a pacer for you as you reach the finishing line, and then after that we go. After I think most runners will go and eat nonsense. So,
Yeah, that's what we do. Enjoy
so
with food.
hopefully, yeah, so hopefully we get to do this in person. Thanks again. Where can people actually find more details about your company, what you do, some of the campaigns that you are running, and so on?
Yeah, you can check us out at our website, checkpointspot.asia. Right. If you
Mhm.
want to get in touch, you can also reach me. It's Ben at checkpointspot.asia. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben. And Lily, how about yourself?
Oh, for myself, you can check out my website. So it's somersaultmy.com, or you can just reach out to me on Facebook. Just drop me a DM or PM. I'm happy to answer your questions on, how to conduct virtual events. Yeah, and maybe we can work something out together.
Yeah, looking forward to, and thank you for everyone for listening and with all the questions. I finally figured out what horizontal running is.
Exactly. It's what we've been doing during
Yeah.
lockdown. Sleep more.
Well, I got to
So
cut
thank you.
down on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Okay,
Thank you. Bye
bye.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you.